Well, it's 8:15 and now time for our daily interview. Tonight we're hoping to have, if it all works out with the technology and all that, the legendary keyboard player Jem Davis has celebrated a big influence on myself and many people around here, and a true passionate UK keyboard player who's hopefully going to be coming on the live feed any moment. So keep watching. Hope you're all doing okay. My name is Matt Roberts, Bedford, UK. Bedford, UK. Chilling here in the Original Effort Studios. Hello guys, joining the feed. We're going to be interviewing Jem Davis if he joins the live feed. Yes, I remember first seeing Jem was the first keyboard player I saw who had a real Leslie speaker. I remember seeing him use that in 1998. Hey Joff, hey Derek. Jem Davis hopefully going to be coming on. We've hopefully got him coming on the feed if he's remembered. Just doing all we can to invite him. I hope he's coming on the feed, and if not, we'll call him up on the phone and see where he is. We'll send him a little text saying we're live. Yeah, he's telling me he's ready. And I'm just telling him to come on the feed. So you want to watch this one. Everybody who's joining us in, we are interviewing Jem Davis, absolute legendary keyboard player, and yeah, all-round good guy. I've just texted him on the phone. He's read it. He should be coming on in a minute. We did a test this morning. Hello to anyone watching on YouTube or watching any of the reruns. And yeah, feel free to politely get involved once the chat gets underway. We're going to be chatting for the next 20 minutes or so. If this works out, we've got a few people watching the feed. Can you all hear me, all you people watching so far? Is the connection good? We're looking for Jem Davis to join this chat. Is he gonna, can he do it yet? He's been invited, tagged. 6 people watching, hope you're all okay. And if anyone would like to be interviewed in this series of interviews, we'll happily interview you wherever you are in the world. We had someone from LA the other day. Sound is great. Hey, Joff. I'd like to interview you, Joff, actually, if that's all right. I'm putting it out there. I think you'd be a very interesting person to interview about music and album collecting and singers, playing music and songwriting and stuff. Jem Davis, is he going to come on this live feed? Audio is very good, that's good to know. You working it out? I'm texting him now off the other phone. Same as this morning. So we had a little test run this morning. I think you were on the test run, weren't you, Derek? Hope you're all keeping safe and well. I've been mixing some of my sprawling albums from dating back to 2015 when I was on tour with you, Joff. Mixing some of those, fixing things, and yeah, I did actually indulge myself and watch The Rise of Skywalker today, which I got on DVD. Right, Jem Davis, I'm not sure if he's having problems connecting, but doesn't seem to be able to. Should we give him a call? Oh, there he is. He's on. Jem Davis is on. Okay. Welcome. We're going to be welcoming him. Are you ready? Jem Davis, how are you, sir?
This modern technology.
Well, ladies and gentlemen watching on Facebook and YouTube later, here he is, one of the UK's most celebrated keyboard players, Mr. Jem Davis, all-round lovely guy. So, Jem, first of all, how are you getting on in this lockdown in these crazy times? Are you all safe and well?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. It is weird. Most of my life spent on the road, bands or whatever, so I'm actually enjoying it. I shouldn't say that really, but I'm writing like crazy because it's a bit mad. We've got a new album coming out in about 3 weeks' time, and of course we can't promote it, we can't do
Oh
gigs and
man.
all them being put on hold. So it's still going to come out. And we've done pre-sales and all that malarkey. So we're just cracking on. All of us are in touch with each other and we're writing, and I'm writing like crazy and I'm loving it,
Well, I mean,
So
it's again, apart from an economic thing, and obviously, I was saying this whole situation, people's safety and health is the first important thing. Then after
yeah.
that, it's the economic thing. But after those two, well, the very heavy thing of health, and then the thing of economic. After that, the freedom of being able to get into stuff is. I know what you mean. I feel guilty for having such a good time with the keyboards.
Well, we both have the same addiction, don't we, dear boy? Of
We do.
why have one keyboard when 50 billion will do? I mean, you're way ahead
Well,
of
I
me,
mean,
but I've got all. I don't know whether you can see this
yeah.
now. I've actually cleared out my studio, so I've got all my cheese boards set up.
Well, I tell you what,
I'm loving
we're
it.
going to have a little tour
Loving it.
round. So,
All right.
Jem Davis, I was just telling everybody on the feed that you were like a little bit of a hero to me because you were the first person I saw with a real Leslie cabinet and who made the effort to
Right.
bring a Hammond organ with a Leslie cabinet. So, Jem, take us back to those early. What got you into all this? Do you remember? Give us the backstory of Jem Davis, where it started.
Well, it's funny. My sister was into soul music. Well, I was at school and all that, and then somebody played me Xanadu by Rush, and I heard a mini moog, and that was it. I was hooked on prog and all that, and then I got into. So my heroes are like Rick Wakeman, John Lord, and Tony Banks, that kind of thing. But Rush is also one of my favourite bands, and they really championed the mini moog back in the day. So when I could, at about age of 17, I've got my first mini moog.
Wow.
And I'll jump forward a little bit because what happened was, I mean, I've always been. I'm just passionate about my keyboards and all that. So I went for the mini moog. Of course, as you know, it's only monophonic. So I also bought a RMI piano.
I know.
Which was fantastic, and also an Elka organ. So that was my little setup there.
So cool.
And I've been through them all, chap. I mean, I know you've had the collection there, and they pretty much not as many as you, but
I've got
a lot of keyboards have gone through my hands.
Still,
you haven't, have you? Oh, wow!
Jules Holland started out with one of those as well. So,
wow. I mean, that of course. See, back in the day, keyboard players, we didn't have the lovely pianos that we got, even the CP70s and all that. So Wakey at the time, and also Tony Banks, they had the RMI. That was as near as they could get to a live having a piano on stage, along with the Hohner and all that sort of thing. But the RMI was it was the go-to really. So they've all been through my hands over the period of time. And what happened was when with the band to Brook, we signed to EMI, and of course it was in the 80s. And EMI wanted the keyboard player to be up on programming and get rid of all the old stuff. And I really didn't kicked against that, but I had to get rid of my Moog. And but I had my first Hammond actually was a T102 Hammond, which was split. I didn't have the luxury of a Leslie then, but eventually I did get the old Leslie cabinet because it's quite funny. I used to go into organ shops exist in them days, and we went there and he said, I want to get the John Lord Hammond. And of course they hadn't got a clue what you're talking about.
Potter's Bar music. I never went in there.
Yeah. So eventually I sussed out what it was, and the secret that Lordy did was he put had a Marshall amp, and he put the Marshall amp through the Leslie to get that sound,
Yeah.
So he didn't always use the rotary effect, like in Smoke on the Water. He didn't have the rotary effect. That's just literally just Hammond going through a Marshall cab. But when I could, when we signed the deal with EMI, I got a C3.
Wow.
Sorry, an A100, which this Leslie that basically somebody messed about with, and it had ridiculous speakers in it and all that. And it was the loudest.
We've just got to tell
world,
everybody watching that in Hammond terms, the top dog is the B3, but the A100 and C3 are all pretty much the same, aren't they? The innards.
I think it's and it's just different cabinets.
Yeah, just different cabinets. So having an A100 would have been amazing.
It was also, and it wasn't split.
Yeah. So
the reason is everyone says to me, "Do you go to the gym and all that?" No, I had to hump, and I always have done. heavy keyboards about, and my Hammond wasn't split. It took 4 roadies to carry this thing about,
Wow.
but it was awesome. And I really wanted to, so I did the John Lord thing, rocking it away, and it was just absolutely, I mean, I've got, as you have, Hammond simulation keyboards, which are okay, but you cannot beat the real
No,
thing. You
you
cannot beat
cannot.
it. There's some of the, I mean, I did a funny story. Was we did with Tobruk, we did this gig at a bikers festival, and this was with the old T102 with the Leslie.
Yeah.
But Hammond's work on tone wheels, that gives it the sound. So, and that needs a constant electricity. Well, of course, we're doing this thing in a field with a
I know what
generator.
you're going to say.
So the Hammond was going unplayable, absolutely unplayable. Because it wasn't in, it was like the 80s and all that. They didn't have nice constant, so it was absolutely useless,
I know, because
but that was quite
you
funny.
hear of bands like in the 70s going to America and the power being on a different voltage, and Hammonds operating on a whole semitone down and crazy stuff like that.
And that is why you listen to old albums like that, the American Hammond sounded different to the English one, for that reason. But and when we recorded the album, first Tobruk album, While on the Run, they got a Hammond in for me. It was great, It did sound, it sounded great, but it was just different because of that difference, because this is 1984.
Yeah. So what else was in your? I remember seeing some, and again, this is like me geeking out, sort of fanboying here. I saw some footage.
We're going to lose so many viewers.
No, we're not.
Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Well, we're doing quite good. It's a hit show. We've got quite a few. But
I got a bit vino.
So Jem Davis, everybody, celebrated UK keyboard player. Yes, I remember seeing some footage of you in the 80s at Hammersmiths with a CP. And am I dreaming this footage, or is the
no? I mean, well, going back to even before Tobruk with Stranger, I had the Mini Moog, I had that, and we were looking at. I know you were looking at this a couple of weeks ago, the OB1, which is an Oberheim. It's nothing to do with Star Wars. Fantastic lead synth. I had one of those as well, which I loved to bits, with the pedal on it and all that. And then I was using an H&H piano. Back in, they existed, and then I've always kind of like, so of course Tony Banks came out with the CP70. I thought that is it, so of course that was part of the deal. So I mean, I think we spent about, because it's not our money, it's the band's. I think I spent about 10k on keyboards, because of course the A100 with the Leslie, but I had a CP70, and we were talking. Messaged you this the other day because. So I was on tour Tobruk supporting UFO, and we were in Boston, and it was in the winter. It was snowing, and you can relate to this. So I broke a string on this piano, and I'm out in the car park with the lid up. And of course, these are really tough. It's not like a string on a guitar,
a CP70 harp. It's a very heavy thing, So this is a.
It's basically Well, that's the reason why it works. Why it sounds so nice is it is a proper piano, but reverse, so it's folded flat, and the hammers are hitting it. So to play, it's awesome because you feel the notes coming through, and that makes a massive difference. But it had a sound of itself, But it was a bit of a mare, and like I'm sure yourself, you had to learn to tune it yourself.
You did,
we couldn't afford to have piano tuners come on, which is what obviously Tony Banks and people that could afford to, because it had to get tuned quite regularly because. It's going for extremes of temperature, and it was a proper piano, basically, but an awesome beast, heavy as, So my key, that's again, so I'll go back to my keyboard rig was a CP70, which weighs a ton. The Hammond, which wasn't split, that weighs a ton. Then, of course, I had the Poly Moog.
Now,
another one of your favourites.
Tell us about, now, this is so cool. By the way, Jem, I don't know if you can see the comments, but we've got some real fans and people really loving this. So
I can't see any comments.
We've got quite a few people. So if you got any questions, there, I can see them on my side.
Ask me anything. I can't see them, but Matt will pass them on.
So a Poly Moog. Now, obviously, by the time I got into a Poly Moog, it was revered as a retro keyboard. What in reality, what was it like using a Poly Moog in practice at the time?
Well, see, back in the day, when you used to go and see your heroes like Wakeman and Tony Banks and all that, what they played is what you heard, and what they played is that's what was coming out. We didn't have MIDI or anything connecting it all up, all computers. So when they played Hammond or they played the Poly Moog, that's what you're hearing, So, and it's difficult this day and age because anybody has a MIDI keyboard and you don't know what they're playing, So when I heard Wakey on a Poly Moog, and of course I've always been a massive Moog fan anyway, and I've managed to find one second hand. I think it was down in Watford or something, and it had the pedals as
Oh,
well.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and I can't remember how much I paid for it. It well, it might have been about 1,500
But
quid. But I do going back, and now this is one thing I never had, and I'm sure you've got set because Moog also did the
yeah,
tourist
got
pedals.
them. Got a bit of a...
And there's a fantastic thing on YouTube with Bob Moog, and because he made them, and they're only about like $300, and they're going for like three grand now, and
it's crazy.
he's gobsmacked, like he can't believe because the tourist ones are
I know they
fantastic,
are.
and they just
It's
gave that extra boost
again,
to bass players. Yeah,
Genesis, turn it on.
yeah,
Bom, bom, bom,
yeah,
bom,
yeah,
ba-na-na-na.
yeah.
We've got a question for you, Jem. Matt
Go on.
Bedford, who's a 22-year-old Simp fan and love.
I know him.
You know, Matt,
Yes.
he wants to know what were your thoughts on the Prophet 5, and we've just got Luke Bossendorfer watching from America as well.
Hey, hello, Gate.
So, what were your thoughts on the Prophet 5?
Well, again, so when of course, you get the e-ticket to signing a deal, and it's all right, okay. And then it was the 80s, so we basically said, "What do you want?" So I didn't know what to get. I did get a Prophet 5, a Jupiter 8, and I got the Oberheim OB8, right? To try out, see which one was suited me. Now, the joke was that we got all our gear from Rich Studios, which is based in Putney, and they're a hire company. And so the Prophet 5 I had was used on cats. So most of the presets that you played about meow and all these weird, it didn't really have the classic sounds in it. And it wasn't instant for me. I mean, I do love them, but it wasn't instant enough for me. And in a rock band, I just wanted the big sound. So again, I looked at the Jupiter 8, and I love the Jupiter 8, but it just didn't suit the rock. And then when you jump on the Oberheim, as you know, I know you're a big fan of this. I mean, that was the sound. That was it for me. I mean, it's like, Van Halen's Jump and all that. It's just a massive, big, fat synthy sound.
When you've
fantastic to play.
You've got distortion, rock guitars going. It really kind of cuts through.
Well, and that's what Wakey said back in the, he said, like, of course, keyboard players, until the Mini Moog came along, we couldn't compete. You can't compete with a guitarist cranking it up on the thing. Then the Moog came out, and of course, once we could be heard, and a bit of amplification, all that, and then, but it does count, and that's a big thing in playing in a band and as a keyboard player. It's all the subtleties go. It's very lovely sitting in your bedroom and you get these lovely little sounds and all that. Play with a band and the guitarist is going off and the drummer and all that. They're hitting all these different frequencies that it won't cut through. So there's only certain synths
will cut through. Yeah.
In the rock world that will actually cut. And Obi always did it. So the Oberheim, and that's where Hammond and pianos will always work.
We're getting right. So Derek Clark saying if you swipe left at the bottom of your screen, you can see comments. Matt Bedford says thank you, and Nick Slater would like to know: did you ever use a Rose Chroma? I don't know if you can see the comments now.
No, it was funny because with Fender Rhodes, right? I went in the studio, and there was a Rhodes sitting in the corner. I got on it, and it was awful. It was bloody awful. And I thought, why do people rave about these things?
Was this in the 80s? Was this in the 80s for the
yeah, it was a suitcase. But it was a crap one. And then here's the thing. So that and a Wurlitz, and again, you know this, when you actually get on one that's been looked after, and they're all different. They're all handmade and they're all different. You jump on a proper Fender Rhodes and it just blows you away, and it's playable and away you go because it just sounds awesome. But if they're bad and they're terrible. And I did the same with the Wurlitz. I had a Wurlitz for a little while and it wasn't doing it for me. I've played others and it's just fantastic.
Well,
but,
sorry to interrupt. We've got Nick. It's not Nick Slater. It's Nick Slack saying. Nick Slack saying about the Rhodes Chroma. Hello, Nick. Sorry about that.
Okay.
My dyslexia strikes again. Reading. So Nick Slack.
No, I never had a Rhodes. I had a Wurlitzer for a long time, and I've got to say, I do. It was just it's the only keyboard I've actually made money on selling. I lost so much. Here's the frustrating thing, it's I've spent thousands of pounds worth, as I know you have too, on keyboards, and we do. And if they go wrong though, there's nobody to help us out, and we are so blessed. We got a guy called Adrian,
Delenti,
as we both know.
Synth Restore.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
fantastic.
It is.
He's the main man. He looks after. I know I get my Moog regularly serviced because Moogs have got gold leaf contacts on them, so they get tarnished and they need a bit of TLC. So I'd always take that to Aid to sort
Otherwise, you
out.
get the double triggering notes when you if you.
Oh, it'll go.
Yeah.
I'm lucky
Or it goes
because
out of
so
tune.
what happened? Yeah, what happened was with me when I finally got some money, what happened with the Hammond. So I've got to say this with the Hammond. So I had this fantastic Hammond A100 and the Leslie, and to Brooke split up. I just didn't have the money to keep it, and I'm really pleased to say that Don Airey's got it.
Wow,
and looked after it.
That is
so
a great person.
It's gone to a very, very good
another
home.
Another legendary keyboard player such as yourself, and not far from here, I believe. He doesn't
exactly. Yeah. But with my Moog, that was funny because the one I had a few problems with it. Wouldn't stay in tune or whatever. I sold that one, and then when it came to I had the money, I went to Aid, and Aid had he had a Model D, the old Moog, with a brand new Voyager, which they brought out. And I realised that the Voyager is an awesome beast, but it's brand spanking new. And I wanted the nostalgia. Then you just can't, as you know, again with the Moogs, they're all different. Every single one's different.
Especially with mini Moogs, there was different periods, wasn't there? Yeah.
Well, and this one apparently belonged to. Let me just see if I can get this in the shop because
we're all loving it here. Jem.
This is my pride and joy, right? That's my pride and joy. It's backwards. But it's absolutely awesome. I've got Wakeman.
I was going to say, didn't he sign it?
See that?
Rick there it is.
Wakey signed on the top there. That was funny because I just basically took in a stick because I took the top bit of wood off. I took that into him and I said, "Can you sign this?" He's like, "A stick?" But I mean, it's. I don't know if we can hear this all. Get a bit of volume on it.
Everyone.
It's just. You can't beat that. You cannot beat that. I mean, again, so the new guy, the new pretender, is so this is a sub 37, which is great, and it's got the and you could program that.
You can hear it's got the Moog thing, but
but there's nothing like it's a living beast. It's a living beast, and that doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't go anywhere.
So I mean, there's loads of comments coming in. Ben Kelly says he's lucky. He feels lucky to know a member of UFO and FM,
right.
And he can't believe that he knows a member. So with all the moving a bit forward, so we're in the 80s, 90s. How did you get on when things, we had the sort of the FM synthesist. How did you get? How would you find?
That was the part of the thing, you see. So obviously, with EMI wanted me to basically get up to speed with all the programming and all that.
So the DX7 came out, and which was
that's what I had to learn. So I had to, and that, as you know, it's such a different beast to all what we were used to. And I got the manuals, and I taught myself how to I couldn't do it now, but I had it all, and it was a weighty beast to carry around. But I just had to get up to speed with programming and make it, trying to get those modern sounds working for our band at the time, But I'm really pleased to say that the Hammond never really goes away. It's the only thing that really sits well with the guitar and undercuts it. And then when you want to, you just crank it up and off you take it for the leads, So, but I mean, it was difficult. I mean, basically, it's basically so either you get up to speed or you're out, kind of thing,
Wow.
And so it's a big learning curve. But I'm glad I did it, obviously.
And then, obviously, in the late '80s, like with the D50, the Korg M1, and the SY stuff, and going into the '90s, it was at the time. I wasn't fully there because I was only sort of coming into it as a little lad then. But people were basically getting rid of all their mini Moogs and all those kind of things, and all lusting after these, workstations.
Well, what was happening with old keyboards, and again we touched on it earlier, is the tuning, because the old stuff wouldn't stay in tune, or some of it didn't, and it could be a bit of a mare, and the modern stuff. Then they brought in MIDI where one keyboard would talk to the other, and you can actually trigger stuff off, and so I went down. Again, I just like the big sound, so I got an M1, and I just love that sound. And from there, I progressed. I also got a D50. I do like the D50, but I did Korg stuff for me, what I always say to people, it's like they was and asked me, and I'm sure you get the same thing. What's the best piano? There isn't one. The best piano is whatever sounds good for you.
That's a
Because
great bit of advice, actually. If people want
well,
to.
for me, I've got a Roland there. I love my Roland piano. There's some great pianos on the Korg, and obviously the Yamahas. All that. There's no affinity that's the perfect piano. It's whatever works for you. There's some fantastic other pianos. Decibel got fantastic piano out now. There's so many out there, and there's some good soft synths and whatever. But it really is whatever works for you. I can't. I would never recommend
Anything,
say
no.
no. This is the one for you, because it's like speakers or anything like that. It's what you want to hear yourself.
Yeah,
And it's like guitars as well.
absolutely.
Because you can give somebody a guitar saying that's the one, but again, a Fender Strat. Every Fender Strat's different. As the boys will always
Yeah,
say.
of course.
That's why our guitarists have got like 15 billion of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good thing to sort of, there's so much to talk to you about. We've got to sort of semi-condense it, but it's such a pleasure to have you here, Jem.
No worries.
So if in terms of being a touring keyboardist, would you say, now I'm thinking the answer is possibly going to be yes, is the experience like so different from say 1984 to say now, as far as like, in-ear monitors, your mix and all that stuff? Was it a lot more raw back in the day?
Oh man, it was back in the day. I mean, again with Tobruk, we did an outdoor gig in Holland, I think it was, and I was on my own. You just, even though you're on the stage, the monitoring was crap, so I couldn't hear anybody else, and you just had thinking, well, I hope this is.
Wow.
You're kind of watching, because now when FM does the gigs on these big stadiums, it's like playing anywhere. It's awesome. The on stage monitoring is fantastic. I'm not a massive fan of the in-ears, because I'm an old fart. So
you prefer the power of it coming back at you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I like to feel it on things, so I crank it all up. I mean, it's quite funny because you talk to Jim on FM. If he comes over to my side of the stage, the guitar is just coming out so loud at mine, because I like to feel it, that, and I get a nice balance between myself and Jim, because of course he's over the other side. But then so then we'll touch on guitars. it's if I get my guitar on and go over to Jim's side, I can't hear a flipping thing I'm playing, because it's all guitars, But guitar, I like Marmite,
Well, I mean, actually, interestingly enough, not that I'm that good on it, I got my Mood Liberation out yesterday.
I saw that. Yeah. Amazing, yeah. Weighs a ton, though, don't they?
They do weigh a ton, and I was having a little play on that. So, and we're getting, they've got the magic recipe between the tone generator and the keyboard. That's the X Factor Digi Pianos, as me and Jem. So, do you know Nick Slack? Nick Slack is
yeah. He used to come back in the So what happened with FM? We decided to take a bit of a break. So then I joined the covers band and all that, and that's where I met Nick.
Yeah.
Nick was a champion of the Nord stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Nord stuff. I mean, it is. I don't.
It's my go-to for Hammond. I've got to say, if I'm, I mean, I know you got that. I mean, I've got the 6D now, but I mean, it's an awesome piece of kit for Hammond on stage. It's the nearest I can get to literally just switching it on and away you go. The keyboard feels great. You need three kind of keyboards. The actual keyboard to and for me,
feel like
it's a weighted. Yeah. So for a weighted keyboard for piano, and what we call a waterfall key, which is what's on a Hammond, which makes it feel nice. And then you got like the plastic synthy ones, and they do vary from one extreme to the other. I've just got myself a Phantom 7, the new one, and that feels amazing. It's a synth keyboard, but it's absolutely beautiful to play because it's got the V piano in it. So sometimes we're getting these plastic keyboards and you're trying to recreate like you would on a piano. You play differently.
Yeah, you do.
As I'm sure. So if I've got an upright in my front room, and I love jumping on that on a regular basis, because it just you feel the sound of the string through your fingers.
Yeah, no, it's a very different thing. No, we're just getting a few people jumping on. So, Jem, take us round your.
This could go.
Take us round tell us a bit about your home, your studio you've got there in a secret location. What have you got in your studio? Let's have a look at.
It's I've just cleared it out, and that's thanks to the lockdown. So I could get all my toys out, So
This is
let's have a
exciting
look.
stuff, guys. The Jem Davis
So
studio.
over here, as we already touched, this is the Sub 37 that's on the Moog. So I take this out with FM. It's programmable, so you got all the different. I can jump and change sounds quite quickly on that. Then I do like my Kronos. So I've got two Kronoses. This is the 61. Again, we were talking about different keyboards. So this is like a synthy one, and then I've got a weighted one down here. That's the 73.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the older. Yeah, I mean, see, they do a great. It's nice. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No. Indulge. Play all you
so
like.
Then, so I said I like my Nords. So I went and bought a C2D.
Oh yes,
because I do, which is basically you got your drawbars on it. I got it put into a Hammond case, a T case. So it's so I can rock it.
Yeah, all important rocking.
But this has a certain crunch, which, funny enough, I don't think it has on that, although it's meant to be the same engine.
Yeah,
but I do love
they put a lot of
this.
a lot of love into making that. That organ.
And that's an awesome piece of kit. So I got. Courtesy of Lee from Pearl Handle Revolver built me a fantastic
good old Lee.
So I'm able to actually mount these beasts on top. So what have we got here, as we were talking about earlier? This is a Roland 2000. So this is the piano.
Nice.
Weighted. So that's a full 88. And then the baby that doesn't go anywhere, me Moog.
Pride and joy.
Oh, that's gone off now. Turned it off, that's fine.
Oh,
it's just that bottom end,
Yeah.
Which is what everybody cries after. And there's
no
plug-in in the world that sounds like that, yeah. Now, this is the rig that I've been taking out on the last FM tour. So this is a new Phantom. So this has basically got a Roland inexpensive V piano, which is about $4 grand.
Yeah, I know about that.
They put the V piano, so there's a piano in on this. I've got this going up. But it's also, it's got some amazing sounds. I've only just tickled the surface. It's got the classic D50s. Along with, and I've just put this in the other day. So I got like a C70 thing on it.
Yeah, with the chorus.
Yeah. But that doesn't, this is the best. I do like the Nord here for the, again, I've turned this one down. Is this up? Yeah, there we go. Which is nice. So I do use this. I don't really get on with the pianos on this.
Say,
I must admit.
On the Nord, you see, having got a Wurlitzer and Rhodes, I don't mind like the Rhodes and the Wurlitzer on the Nord. Are you not so much of a fan of the? How do you find the?
The Rhodes on. The old 10cc. Let me just play you this. So you got the old.
Let's go for it. Oh yeah.
So
enough.
So that's
You know what, Jem?
So
it's an interesting story because the Not in Love Fender Rhodes suitcase, I'm not even joking, ended up on eBay about a year ago.
Did it?
Yeah, and I was actually emailing 10cc. We can name me the members. Who was the singer of I'm Not in Love? It was him selling it, and we were messaging.
Oh, was it?
It was about $4 grand, four or $5 grand. Obviously, I couldn't really afford it even at that time. But I remember messaging him. I was just saying, "No, don't sell it." But I think in the end he kept it because it was the one that was on Dreadlock Holiday.
We actually, Tobruk, Tobruk's second album, we recorded at Strawberry Studios up in Manchester, which is where they did that, and they had the tapes there. So if anybody doesn't know, it was an incredible feat of just recording
with loops, with loops of tape.
And then they usually had that all on a mixing desk, and they just played it in. And incredible, and all the tapes are still there, in this studio, incredible. But so just finishing off now. So what I have, so this beast now. Actually, I can. I also have like my Mac's over here.
Yeah.
So this, I run main stage, which is soft synths and things like that, and I can actually run that off the new Phantom, which is great. So I can control all of that. So that's I'm working on that because.
Ronaldo's just joined us. Keyboard
But
player.
the thing with I'm still old school, so I don't trust computers.
No, I mean,
And they, you know what it's like, when they had their crash on, which is the reason why I like to. So to finish off the setup, I've got an 88 note Cronus down the bottom here,
yeah.
which I don't know what's on this, but there's some nice meaty sounds on this.
Eric Stewart, that's it, Eric Stewart.
Some nice fat moogs and pianos and orchestras and all sorts. And so between those three, that's what I took out on the last FM tour with my Mac. I had everything covered, I must admit, I did miss the C2D. So
do you, when going out on the road now, do you have to sort of prepare your sounds? So you look at, say, 12 tracks or whatever, this new, before this, had you been going out promoting this new FM album, what do you program the sounds up? Do you put a lot of thought into the sounds?
Pretty much, well, because of course, really, with FM and that, you're only looking at about 2 or 3 new songs. So that's all I'd have to program into whatever setup I take out there, and I have been programming that into the Phantom. And also I had to, unfortunately, we never made it because of one thing or another. We were due to go to Australia. So with Australia, I was taking my laptop and this little guy, which is just that's triggering a soft synth. So I'd take that with me, and then I would have a Korg, a Kronos, and a Nord, and then I would have everything covered. That's what we have to do now when you go abroad. I can't afford to ship my gear.
Yeah, I mean,
to be honest,
it's a worry.
I don't trust it.
Worry,
I don't trust. I've sat on planes and watched my keyboard fly over and go the other side.
You spoke about Rick Wakeman. His son Adam, I seem to remember him having a nightmare with a Rhodes getting dropped on the tarmac or something, when he was traveling.
Yeah.
So
I did this, but this is what happened with you. And funny enough, it was I had a DX7 with UFO. God knows why. But I sat on the plane with the boys and watched as the ground crew in Spain threw my keyboard up over the top and it came down the other side. Now, thank God the case was a write-off, but the keyboard worked, But again, that was back in the day when we didn't have this modern technology where we could actually get the sounds in. So, and also you didn't know. Generally what we do when we go abroad is we hire gear in, but sometimes you don't. I mean, same with the guitarists, they never know what they're going to get. It could be like a toaster. They just don't know what kind of gear they're going to get. So and what happened to us last February, we got robbed in Barcelona and they nicked everything.
Terrible,
and that was the right. But I tell you what was when that happens to you, and we still did the gig on the night, and we got through it, and it was.
How did you swing that? Did people bring your gear in?
Well, all my sounds are on a stick, so basically they were an hour to program in a Nord and the Kronos and get enough sounds in to get me through the gig. Same for the boys. They had their guitar. No, they didn't even have their guitars. The guitars got robbed, you see. So, these guys took everything out the back. Our clothes, passports, the whole works, So we literally I'm just left with just a vest, trousers,
the classic Jem Davis vest.
Exactly. I had one credit card and my phone, and that was it.
Man.
But we did it. But when that happens to you, it kind of gives you a reality check on being a bit precious about stuff when you go abroad. So I try not to take anything if I can, and try and be self-sufficient. Just have my laptop. My laptop got on it, but this, I'll make sure that I hang on to that.
Yeah. You can take that on as hand luggage.
Yeah, exactly. It got nicked, and they said, and I thought I had it covered. He said, but they said because it was unattended, it's not covered. I said, well, if it was attended, it would have got nicked, wouldn't it? But I had no chance.
Pete Romanowski asked, I think I know what you're going to say to this. Pete Romanowski asked, can I ask a question? Is hardware still better than any soft synth sound-wise? I have used a soft synth in many a year. So you're a man that uses both, and as you're a man who's used it
Yes,
all.
and again, I wouldn't say one above the other. At the moment, I'm recording and I'm using nearly all soft stints, even as an awesome. Because I know Simon's got a fantastic Hammond. He's
So
lucky to
Simon
have a
Aldo, I
proper
think
Hammond,
Si's watching. I think Si's watching. So.
Yeah, so I don't have the luxury of that lovely
I think
beast.
he's got
So
a B3, hasn't he? He's
there's
got a B3.
there's some proper real McCoy
Yeah,
thing, and it just
it does.
there's a certain sound to that. The whole point with a Hammond is every note is different. Every time you play it, you get a different sound out of it. And then when Simon got that, and I thought I've forgotten
Wow, good.
how good they
Paul,
were.
Paul
And
Hobbs.
you
Paul
know,
Hobbs says hello, Jem. Paul Hobbs.
oh, hello, Paul.
Yeah,
Hey, matey.
yeah,
Yeah, FM
yeah.
fan.
That's
Yeah,
good. No,
good
that's
old
great.
Paul.
So just we'll do a little. So when is this new album out then? Because this new album, when has it got?
I'm waiting for them to arrive here.
Yeah,
What we do is all the boys are we're doing it a bit differently this time. We used to rip the plastic off and sign the covers, ruin it in my opinion. So what we're doing this time is we're getting separate cards in going with the album. So the album, they're all coming to me. The rest of the boys are all signing them, and then I'll be the last in the chain. And we've got the pre-orders going out as soon as we can. And of course, the trouble is in this day and age, we don't know what the post is up to, and we got no reliance on that, but we can only do our best and all that.
yeah.
So the album will be out by the I think it was 22nd initially, but it may be a little bit later than that, but we'll get them out as soon as we possibly can. And then but and we touch, obviously we in touch every day as a band. We're just writing and trying to get some new stuff together. When we did the last year, it was 30 years for our Tough It Out album, and so we recorded all the tracks live. So we might do something with that just to keep the ball rolling. But as you know, I mean, the biggest worry for any muso now is when can we get out there? We don't know.
We don't.
I personally do not want to be them to lift the lockdown only to be bunged in again for another 6 months. I want to make sure that when we come out, we're out and that's it. It's done. So
yeah, no, of course. I think that would be better. We don't want a sort of half-assed release. But I've got a quick question coming from Jake Astin, who's watching in the Midlands. Who is the most inspirational musician you've ever met in your career, Jem?
Yeah. Well, it's got to be Wakey, I think.
Yeah.
For that I've met.
Rick Wakeman.
When whenever they say don't meet here, well, he's one that because he's such a funny bloke, and so is Adam and all his sons and all that. And what a lovely bloke.
I've spoken to Adam before. Lovely chap.
Yeah, he's just absolutely fantastic. And we, I've met a few people over there. It's funny, like people like we did a tour with Steve Lakia from Toto.
Oh wow!
And again, people were bad mouthing him, but he was the loveliest guy.
Who's met him. Yeah, Steve Lucas, lovely.
Really nice.
I mean, that's a band. I mean, I think the one keyboard that I was watching Blade Runner the other night, the Yamaha CS80. Did you ever? Ever go on a real one of those?
No, only the 60.
Yeah, I've got a 60.
I had the 60, and it ain't the same, is it?
Not. It's not.
You haven't got the chorus on it, and it's just not.
No,
it just sounds completely different. I was gutted, but I just could not afford it. I think it was another couple of grand more. I don't know. And they were big beasts at the time, weren't they?
Would break down. So is there? So here's one for Jem Davis. This has been a great interview because you've had a lot of enthusiastic people watching, and we really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Is there any keyboard, new or old, or organ, or anything that you would love to have a go on that you haven't yet, or you have something you'd like to own? If there was a little Jem Davis bucket list.
Well, one, and I think you've got one of these, is the ARP Pro Soloist, which is Banksy used to use. Of course. And I know Adrian had one in his shop, and I had a little go on that. But I mean, it's a good and a bad thing. They want ridiculous amount of money for this old gear.
With me. It's a solo.
Yeah.
Is that? I think it's out the Pro Soloist on Follow You.
But all the old Genesis, that was that, and the new. I'm getting a new keyboard this week, which is it's ASM Hydrosynth. This is something. I'm getting quite excited about because it sounds so different to everything else that I've heard, And then I know a few people that own the Moog One.
Yeah, I know one man. It's a lot of money. It's like even set.
It's ridiculous amount of money. $8,000, and they're going wrong. The overheating, and
I know.
yeah, it's.
Alexander.
But if I was mega rich, I'd probably get one of those. Did you ever have a memory moog?
I did. Do you
Did
know
you
what?
ever own one of those?
I didn't. I had a chance to get one in the last 2 years for 4 grand, which sounds a lot. And I can't
Right.
even. At the moment, I'm sort of treating myself to Sound on Sound, and 6 quid is a lot.
Yeah.
Six
Oh,
pound.
that's such an expensive magazine, dear
Six
boy.
pound, I know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I passed on this one for 4 grand, and no, I don't. And I'm, to be honest with you, if we talk about the price of vintage Simps, I'm never going to own a memory moog now. But yeah, I mean, what are they like? You've had a go on one, and you.
No,
Oh,
I
never.
never
Oh,
have. I've
okay.
tried one in a shop. Didge, the original keyboard player from FM, he loved them. That's he was talking about getting a Moog one himself. But again, it's just a
I mean,
silly money
I've
really
had a go
for
on.
what
I
they
had
are.
a go on one, and yeah, I mean, it's got so much, page being, and there's so many things in
Mm.
there. And I understand, they've got it, but it is a lot of money. I mean, we're talking.
I think it's too much really
Yeah,
but they,
that's what I think. So Jem, just
but
before we say goodbye, is there anything else you'd like to chat about, or say, or talk about what you've done with music and stuff? And
I just want to give you a big up, to be honest,
no,
mate. I think I
okay.
tell you what I'm absolutely love is as you know, I'll go down to the old when we could. We used to have the
Bowie nights and
jam
jam nights.
nights.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Bowie thing. That's something again, and I hope we get to do
I hope
that.
so. Yeah.
But hopefully it's all up and gone. This is something that we do every year to celebrate David Bowie, and I love doing that because then I can be Wakeman and play live on Mars
Yeah.
and things like that, and that's a joy to do. But what is also a joy is to go down these jam nights that you organise, and bless him, Chris Robinson,
Oh,
a
God rest your
fantastic bloke.
soul.
I mean, I didn't know him as well as you, but
Yeah.
man, it's lovely to see people getting young kids getting up there, picking up an instrument, and there was like, remember, the 10-year-old drummer and his little oppo. I can't remember. I don't know
Yeah,
their
yeah.
names, but they've a joy
Yeah, I know those
because
guys. Yeah, yeah,
and they're
yeah.
playing this stuff. Thinking, what are and most people are, because the trouble is, kids today they're on a computer. They can go blah 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 and move the notes about. They don't learn, and they don't know. They feel the soul and all that. But these kids are on it,
They
and they
are.
and they come down to the
I
jam
know.
nights, and you're giving them a platform to. It doesn't. There's nobody judging. You just get up, you have a blast, and away you go.
No.
It's difficult for you sometimes because there's just too much going on, and before you know it, the time is gone.
Well, I mean,
But that's
it's uh,
you and Pete is you're championing that, and that's
the
great. And
Bowie jam.
hopefully
It's just.
I'll be back down. There when we get going to lock up the lifts up.
Yeah, no,
Mate. So
Jem, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this tonight. And anybody who's just joined us, I'm going to be putting this interview on YouTube. It'll be on my Facebook. It'll be on YouTube as well. So any of the FM fans or other fans, get the new album and keep supporting Mr. Jem Davis.
cheers.
And thank you for
Bless you.
all those years ago when I saw you with that Leslie speaker. It was I just remember it, and it was something that will live with me forever. So thank you so much
Bless
for
you.
that. And
All right. Cheers,
Jem,
Matt.
we'll see you
No,
soon.
it's been a pleasure, buddy.
Thank you ever
We'll
so
do it
much.
again soon,
Yeah,
mate.
thank you for
we'll
watching,
have a
everybody.
part two.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All
Cheers,
right, mate.
pal.
Bye bye.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.